The Last Kings of Sark, written by Rosa Rankin-Gee and read by Katie Scarfe. Part 1. The only real person in this book is DJ Silver Fox, Roger, who was kind to us. If this were a film, I would want it to start with leaves and light coming through them. The sun would hit the camera straight on and splinter out and catch dust. Light and leaves are how I'd want it to begin. There would also be unmetalled roads and bright yellow butter on our table, and the coupe, thin as a spine. You'd see the sea, birds that flew faster, and women driving tractors with potato cheeks and legs cocked like cowboys. The Mermaid Tavern, with dogs in, and children. Roger, with hips like a whiskey flask, and fields through fences, school jumper green. I put sun on all of this. On our skin, too. Sun on our arms as we cycled along the avenue. Sun on Sofi, sun on Pip. I'd hold my hands up to the light, and you'd see scars from sea anemones and other things. The camera would pull back out then, back past our skin, the stones, our bikes, the house, and eventually, you'd see we were on an island. Then I'd go back to before I was on an island, and before I knew the island existed. I'd go back to the very beginning. Thieves, bandits, pirates, robbers, ruffians and murderers. No worse than the very cannibal. They would certainly eat us alive. Rabelais on the Sarkese, 1530. Chapter 1. My name is Jude, and because of law, hay, and the obscure, they thought I was a boy. Not even a boy, a young man, and someone who could teach their son. I was none of those things, apart from young. But a merchant banker called Edward Defoe flew me out to Sark on a private plane, together with frozen meat and 3 crates of badois, and that's how it started. The plane was for the meat, not me. But he said there was no point in flying cattle class when I could fly with the food from Biggin Hill and escort the boxes through Guernsey. He'd send a cab, he'd book the ferry, he'd see me Friday. "See you Friday!" ! Just like that, sent from his BlackBerry. I remember thinking, he didn't even use all his fingers. How do you decide who tutors your son without using all your fingers? 4 days later, I turned up alone at Biggin Hill Airport. It was late morning on the 2nd Friday of July, and I was wearing a suit jacket I'd borrowed from my mother. My shoes were wrong, and my stomach felt like a cold piece of paper scrunched up. I didn't even have a ticket. All I had was his name. A brunette with pink eyeshadow and a fluoro jacket came out, and I said it. "Edward Defoe?" It was a question and an answer, and all I had. I thought she'd send me home. I think I hoped she would. But she smiled, teeth from temple to temple, and sent my bag off in a golf cart. The departure lounge at Biggin Hill was a strange place. Empty as an office in summer, with air-conditioning vents and London, Moscow and New York time on Rolex clocks on the wall. There was an unofficial-looking stall selling chocolate bars, and I wanted to stop for water, but I was taken straight through to the tarmac. The fluorescent lady introduced me to the pilot, Fred, who was eating a muffin and getting a stone out of his shoe. He was younger than I wanted him to be. He had too much neck, in waves from his crown to his collar, velvety with stubble. It made me think of a sofa, over-upholstered somehow. And then I saw the plane, and that was when I thought, this has to stop. It was a joke plane, a child's plane. But I shook Fred's hand and stood there, smiling until my gums were dry. Then, when he told me to, I climbed up the tiny steps. It was like a Smarties tube, just shorter and more metal. The fold-down seats in the back were stacked with the meat and badois, so Fred pointed to the co-pilot's chair and said I was to sit there. It was mustard leather, with duct-tape kisses where the leather had cracked.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?